I wanted to make a video about the protests and the riots that are going on right now in the United States. And I think that Rodney King says it better than I ever could. So I'm going to play his video clip first, and then I'll talk afterwards.
I just want to say, can we all get along? Can we get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids? And I mean, we've got enough smog here in Los Angeles, let alone to deal with the setting these fires and things. It's just not right. It's not right, and it's not gonna change anything. We'll get our justice. They've won the battle, but they haven't won the war. We'll have our day in court, and that's all we want. And just I'm neutral. I love people of color. I'm not like they picking me out to be. We've got to quit. We've got to quit. After all, I mean, I can understand the first upset for the first 2 hours after the verdict, but to keep going on like this, and to see the security guard shot on the ground, it's just not right. It's just not right, because those people will never go home to their families again. And I mean, please, we can get along here. We all can get along. We just gotta, I mean, we're all stuck here for a while. Let's try to work it out. Let's try to beat it. Let's try and work it out.
All right, there you go, Rodney King. The world would be a better place if we just listened to the message that he shared. Anyway, I've got some things that I typed out that I want to share. I'm not a very good speaker, and so I typed out the things that I wanted to share about what's going on in the United States right now. So first, I'm just talking about Rodney King. I was 10 years old when the Rodney King incident happened. I remember it well. I remember watching TV, seeing it on the news, seeing a crowd of officers surround the man, their nightsticks going up and down, beating him. Excuse me. I just remember them seeing him. I remember seeing them do that to him over and over again. I remember seeing his beaten and bloody face, swollen, bruised. It was awful. And then I remember when the rioting happened. I remember thinking to myself that, even at that age, 10, almost 11 years old, I remember thinking to myself that, the vandalizing and the looting of businesses that weren't guilty of the crime, and hurting and killing people, that was all wrong. That wasn't helping in any way. And then I remember watching TV, and I remember seeing Rodney crying on the news and just pleading with everybody to just get along, And I mean, it's such a simple but powerful message, and we certainly need that today. First off, I just want to say I support the people who are protesting against the corrupt police and the corrupt government leaders. And particularly, I support the protests, against, their violence towards black people. I'm glad that Americans are using their constitutional rights to assemble and to protest and to speak up. America needs to reform, not defund, but reform the police. To help prevent bad people from becoming cops, and also to punish the bad cops for their crimes. Let's see. I do not support the rioting. Okay, there are people out there who are, protesting. They're doing what's right. They're raising their voices. And then I think there's also just idiots out there who want to have an excuse to do something violent. And, destroying the property of innocent people and their businesses has nothing to do with the crimes that those bad cops and government leaders have committed. It doesn't help the situation at all. And I understand that police do need to be at the protests just in case a riot does break out. And I support that. And I'm glad when I see footage of police kneeling with protesters, linking their arms with protesters. I think that's a good start to reforming the police and letting Americans know that at least some leaders are listening. But some leaders aren't listening, including our own president, Donald Trump. I do not support the police and Trump's secret army treating all protesters as if they're rioters. Yes, the rioting is wrong and it needs to be dealt with, but Donald Trump and our government are not dealing with it the way that it should be done. They need to genuinely sympathize with the protesters and reform the police to weed out and fire the bad cops, prevent them from getting jobs in law enforcement again, including in other states, and then they need to be punished. The ones that have committed crimes need to be punished. All Donald Trump does is he verbally attacks the protesters as if they're all, thugs and rioters. He likes to use the word thugs. That's not the case. Most of the protesters are good, peaceful Americans standing up for, equality and justice. And then Donald Trump goes and physically attacks them. He sends out his private army. The police go out and they physically attack all of the protesters as if they're all rioters. And in turn, that only instigates more rioting. It's not handling it the right way. I mean, the cycle, it's a cycle and it just keeps going on. And we've all seen the footage of police and soldiers attacking innocent protesters. It's not right. It only makes matters worse. And when Donald Trump did it just to take pictures of himself holding a Bible in front of a church, that was outright sickening. And I think it is absolutely horrible. It is hypocrisy at its worst. Anyway, Rodney King says it best. Can we all get along? That was in 1992, and it still applies today in 2020. When George Floyd was murdered by the police by suffocation for over 8 minutes earlier this year, Americans used their First Amendment right to assemble in the streets all over the country and protest against the long-time corruption that does exist within our country's law enforcement, especially against black people. There were some rioters, but most of these protesters were peaceful, rightfully angry, but peaceful. And how did President Trump and our federal government respond? Did they respond by acknowledging the corruption, sympathizing with their citizens whom they're supposed to serve, and begin reforming our country's law enforcement to get rid of the corruption? No, they did not, because Donald Trump and our government are corrupted as well. They responded by treating the protesters as if they were all part of the violent rioters. The peaceful protesters were met by armed soldiers who attacked them with tear gas, rubber bullets, and if they could get close enough, they were maced and beaten. It didn't matter if they were standing still and unarmed, if they were men or women, or if they were young or old. This is how Donald Trump and our government treat the Americans whom they're supposed to serve. Americans who are out there protesting against violent police brutality, particularly against black people. And so then the rioting gets worse. I don't support rioting, but how do you think people are going to react when peaceful protesters are treated the same as the rioters and are attacked by their country's own soldiers and police at the order of their own president. This is a clear example of tyrannical government and how people respond to a tyrannical government. I'm not saying that anyone who participates in riots are blameless, but I am saying that Donald Trump and our government share the blame for instigating more riots, when what they should have done was immediately listen to the protesting Americans and start working with them to get rid of corruption in law enforcement. This would have led to less rioting and more peace. But instead, they treated and continue to treat the protesters as enemies. And now the riots are getting worse, and the whole country is suffering the consequences of our country's bad leaders. Anyway, police brutality is wrong. Government corruption is wrong. Rioting is wrong. But also, ignoring the good protesters and attacking them as if they're rioters, that is wrong. We all just need to listen to Rodney King's message. I've thought about his words over the years, not just now at this time, and I wish everyone would just listen, not lose their heads, but just get along. The world would be a better place. Not hate and violence. You can't fight hate and violence with hate and violence. Peace and love is the way.